Well, lap 4 coming at you.
Hot. Coming in hot, boys.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Man, I'm ready to talk about something else other than NASCAR.
But we do have to touch on that sometime. Sometime in the podcast.
I mean, it's been big, okay? Like, we like it. We love it.
But that's all that's going on right now. I'm just happy because other things.
Yeah, it's February.
What else is going on out there? Huh?
Did have King of the Hammers food.
I did not catch it, but I know you're a fan.
Yes. I got to go last year, working it, but was crewing it for a stock class car. It's really cool. It's like NASCAR on steroids in the desert for off-road racing. I would say it's probably the toughest off-road race single day event out there. I think the 4400 class, which is the top class, does 200 miles through the desert and the rocks. It's not a normal race anymore where you're trying to take care of your equipment. This year was a full-out sprint race, which was crazy to see them going through the rocks as fast as they possibly could. It looks like the leader finished the race in just under 6 hours, 5 hours, 45 minutes. He actually was the second person. It was Raul Gomez. He was the second guy to cross the line. Jason in the 76 car couldn't pull a big enough gap between him to get to the top of the podium. It took him 5 hours and 46 minutes. So they really were less than a minute apart. And like I said, it's full on sprint through the rocks. I know there's a lot of desert section on the first lap, but the second and third lap are all rocks. And these guys were, probably averaging 5 to 10 miles an hour on these rock sections. I would highly suggest looking them up on YouTube and checking out this race.
It is worth a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing that I noticed last year, the Ford Broncos swept the podium in the stock class, the 4600 class, which they ran on Friday in the Everyman Challenge. The 4400 class runs Saturday by themselves. They're a single class race. You have the 46, the 45s, and the 4200s that run in the Everyman Challenge. And the stock class, they're not stock vehicles, but the Broncos swept the podium again this year. They're the only car running a front independent front end, and I think that we can come out and say that a solid axle isn't the only way for off-road racing anymore.
I know the Bronco that you just like roll into the Ford dealership and buy has optional linkage in the front suspension now. So like if you're rock crawling or whatever and you come up to a rock and you plateau out on your like front right tire and your front left is hanging in the air, you can push a button and it'll drop your front left to the ground.
Yeah. They run those on the race versions. Ford actually does not support Ultra 4, which is the group that runs King of the Hammers. Their factory support was pulled after last year. So these guys still running the Broncos are running them without factory support now. But it is amazing that these guys are able to run independent front ends and not have issues breaking axles in these rocks.
Where is the race?
It's Johnson Valley, California. It's literally, I think it's 30 minutes to the closest town. You stay out in the desert and it's a dust ball. You come home getting dust out of your, for 3 weeks. But I was out there for 2.5 weeks, I want to say, when I went out there for crewing for the 4688 Racing Jeep out, out of Gardendale, Alabama. And it that's a little too long. But is a party. They build a city in the middle of the desert.
It's like Burning Man for race fans.
Yeah. And they named the city Hammertown, and it's like being at Talladega or Daytona for 2 whole weeks.
But grittier.
Yes.
But a lot dirtier.
Yeah.
Once the track goes cold, all the non-racers grab their big old rock crawlers and stuff and head out to the rocks. And they're out there all night. You can just hear them climbing rocks and drinking beer and jamming to music all night.
That sounds awesome. Sign me up.
But I just wanted to give a quick touch on King of the Hammer since it happened. I thought it was an incredible race this year with how fast they were driving through the rock sections.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of we don't need to go into Dakar at all, but that was something that I've noticed over the last couple of years in the Dakar rally is, gosh, the suspensions on these cars are insane. Even the trucks, even like the big trucks that race, like
Yeah, those stupid big ones, like the same size as a semi.
yeah, they look like a garbage truck.
Yeah, they do.
I was following a little bit of Dakar, the motorcycle side when the American was leading it, but then I think he had day 7 or day 8 started running into difficulties.
Yeah, the suspension, the front and rear suspension are all independent, and they all look like they have 3 feet of travel. It's insane, or more. It's just like the cab stays perfectly straight and still, and the wheels are just going all over the
Going
place.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, dude's drinking a macchiato in the cockpit.
See, I didn't know that's where Jimmy Johnson got his start. Like he did a lot of that, like Baja style racing. I was listening to an interview one time, and he said something about he had wrecked, and his teammate, his what do you call that? I don't know, co-pilot, I guess what you call him. Anyways, the guy that was with him in the truck, yeah, co-driver. He had wrecked, and he had gotten like hurt, like hurt where he was kind of like in and out, and they were waiting on the helicopter to get out to him. They'd called it in on the sat phone. But long story short, he said, I'm sitting out there in a rock. He goes, my co-driver just passed out again. He's like, I'm looking up at the stars, and I'm like, I'm really gonna find something else to do. Like this is not where it's at. And I guess that's kind of how he got.
Yeah, should look into
interested.
pickleball.
Yeah, he's like, maybe I should just go win like 7 championships in NASCAR instead of doing this stuff. But
Weird.
yeah, I mean, it worked out good for him. I think he's doing just fine.
Do you guys watch Extreme E at all? The electric off-roading series?
No.
Like
I've
Jensen
seen
Button has
it,
a
but
team.
We don't talk about electric here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No.
I tried Formula E. I couldn't do it.
Extreme E, I think out of all the electric things that are going on, Extreme E is cool. They're way too corny on their like save the planet. Like they're using like hundreds of pounds of cobalt in each car that's probably sourced from like little
You
kids in
don't want to
Africa.
know.
But
It is, yes.
but like they go race for the planet or whatever. But the racing is pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. Big names own some teams too. Worth a watch. Fast forward through all the hibbity bibbity at the beginning though.
Yeah. They race for the planet, for I don't know, 10 minutes.
For money,
and
just
then
like
they
all
have
the
to
rest
charge
of us.
for a little while, and then we race for 10 minutes more. And
Speaking of that, on a side note, going back to King of the Hammers, they did have their first fully electric vehicle try to run the race. And
how'd that work out?
What did it make, like 13 minutes?
It DQ'd. Let's see here. Looking at
It caught fire. It'll be burning for the next 3 years.
Don't you know everyone was like, told you.
Yeah, all the gas heads, all the gas guys.
I told you.
Told you it wouldn't work. Told them when they pulled it up, everything wasn't gonna make it.
I would have to look up what car number he was, but I think he bowed out in lap 1.
If he'd
That
asked me, I'd
isn't
have told you.
racing.
I told you. I
Shit to
mean,
ask me. Shit to ask me.
what'd you
off
expect?
topic, but everything's friggin' corny to do with these electric series. I don't know
Okay,
why they
and
do that.
okay, we'll go ahead and touch on this. They're
Yeah, let's
cars, they're
go
not
there.
race cars, but I'm just saying right now, if they just make a, have you noticed the ones that are the most that work out the best, that have the best, sales or whatever, is the ones that look like a regular car. Why do they have to
Yeah,
make an electric car
yeah.
look like an electric car? Why can't you just make
I'm
it look
with
like a
you.
regular car? I don't want to
I
drive a
know,
spaceship,
right?
bro.
That's like the Chevy and the Ford Lightning and all like this stuff. I'm like, Mike, why can't we just take the regular like current body style and just make it electric and just throw like a little badge on it saying it's electric? Like, why do we got to change it up so much?
I'm telling you. So
And why are people buying it? Like,
okay,
what?
the Tesla. Okay, Elon Musk being smart again, right? His Model 3 looks like an electric car or whatever. But if you get the model, was it S? Is that the high performance one? It's got like a grill and it looks more like a regular car. And it's like, oh, I want that one because it looks better. He knows
Man,
what he's doing.
I was never really a fan of Tesla, but like seeing some of the new stuff that's come out, I'm just like, man, Tesla's like the most normal looking one now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. When they first came out, they looked like alien cars. Now, like, okay, I was driving down the interstate today and I saw a Rivian.
Yeah.
Have you seen those trucks?
Yeah,
Look
man.
them up if you ain't seen them. Okay, they
Oh,
got
they're
these weird
hideous.
headlights. They look like that thing that was it who was the car? Honda made that robot. That's what it looks like to me
Yeah.
They
on the
remind
road.
me. They remind me of the freaking Honda truck, the Ridgeline.
Yeah, yeah, the Ridge line.
It
Come
just
on now.
without getting too off course with this too, but I feel like even like you look at this trend of like the headlight across the entire front of the car, like the tail light across the entire back of the car, like the Ford Lightning's tail light, ugly. The Chevy's front end, ugly. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Like,
they don't know
why?
what they're
I
doing.
don't understand.
They don't know what they're doing.
It doesn't look good though, but it's weird though, 'cause people are buying it though. That's what I don't
They
understand.
it's status, right? It's a status.
I know. I
Did you
hate that
see my
everything's
electric
become that
vehicle?
now.
Did you see my electric vehicle? I don't know if you saw my electric vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it with like its big light that literally probably blinds you. Like, it's just a line coming down the road now. It's not even headlights. It's just a line.
Have y'all seen all the like the training to put out an electric car's a vehicle fire?
Yeah. Run
Oh
away.
God.
Yeah, you
Do I wanna
don't.
know?
Just get out the
Yeah.
hot dogs.
Yeah.
They said
Wait till the fire truck shows up.
you can put an electric car out, and 3 days later it'll disperse back into flames.
Yeah, it's those cells that'll go to the next cell and the next
I
cell.
think it's because all of these cars are being designed by people living in places and working in buildings of cities that you don't need a car to live in, like New York or San Francisco, or
Yeah, I mean that is the truth. If you're in Western
they ride
Oklahoma
a
or
bike to
West
work.
Texas, right? If me and Dave, West Texas, Western Oklahoma, like to the next town, the closest one is 17 miles. After that,
17, try 40.
I know after that though, and that's just because the two towns that I live right next to for some reason are super close. If I want to go to a major city, it's an hour away. And that's to Oklahoma City. It's not like it's some good.
The nearest public Tesla charger to me is an hour and a half away.
See, I'm lucky. I'm on I-40, so I have a Tesla charger in town, but we only have one Tesla supercharger. The rest of them are the regular ones that aren't that good. Anyways,
It's
whole nother
not feasible.
We
podcast.
got a Bucky's with chargers.
Hey, if you want to hear some more about electric vehicles,
Yeah,
leave a
tune in
comment.
later.
Leave a comment. Maybe tune in later. Let us know.
Maybe tweet go at Elon Musk on Twitter. He'll be happy to share.
Yeah. But anyways, Daytona 500 did happen. I don't
That
know
is
if y'all
right.
remember. The Daytona, there it has been known now as the commercial 500.
Hey, Levi.
Yes.
Hey, Levi.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do we want to talk about your
I want to talk about everything except for the last lap. Is that cool if we just do like was it 498 or something like that? That's what I want to talk about. Like the Daytona 498, not
I'm
the
not
500.
gonna lie. I'm a Joey Logano fan, and I was rooting for Stenhouse, bro. Like, give
What
it to
the
me.
what, dude? I was
wanna-
dying inside, is what I was doing.
Oh my god!
Literal. If you got
I
audio of me
feel
watching,
it.
I should have recorded. It was, oh my, Stenhouse just won.
It is
No way
Cottonelle
they let that
Kroger.
happen.
Oh my
Oh.
god, dude!
We should have
Even-
had Dave have his pick on the hot mic.
Oh,
Dude.
I was hoping he'd fall off the fence because
I was watching him walk off the fence, and I'm like, man,
Oh
just
man,
how
I
did
was
this
like, Ricky,
happen?
chill, Ricky.
How did you let this
You're like,
happen?
man, somebody get there and kick that man off. What is he doing?
Somebody,
Come
a
on.
true NASCAR fan with the number 3 Dale Earnhardt shirt on, go kick this man off the fence.
I didn't really hope he'd fall off, but it would have
No, I didn't
been
either. I mean, come
perfect
on,
for the
Tracy
moment in his Cottonelle Kroger
Oh,
Daytona
'cause-
winning car.
I mean, when he
Doo-doo
won, I was
wipes.
like, "There's no way. There's
I
no
know.
way."
I just want to say that Norman talked all that about Ford. And guess what? Guess who's still the most winningest manufacturer of the Daytona 500 and added another one to the books? Chevrolet.
That's right.
Chevrolet, baby.
Chevrolet.
Chevrolet.
I was really impressed with Travis Pastrana overall.
He did good. He
Billy
did.
finally had to get a big push at the very end of that race.
11th hurts, but I mean, it's better than 25th or whatever, or 40th.
Hey, I just want to say, y'all saw Blaney die and get murdered. And guess where he finished this race? He finished in 8th. I don't know if
What?
you guys saw that.
What?
I
but
did
his
not notice
car
that.
No.
was mangled and he finished in 8th. I
His
was
whole
like,
front,
let's go,
his whole front
baby!
right was gone, dude.
Yeah, it was gone. They cut it off.
Oh man, it was so funny. He got caught up in the second wreck too. I was like, dude, he still finished 8th. Let's go.
And then,
That was funny.
so okay, I don't know if y'all saw Xfinity. I'm going back a little bit past the Daytona 500, but the Xfinity race, Junior Motorsports, the worst debacle I have ever seen in NASCAR history as a team. I'm just letting you know right now. If y'all did not
Oh,
see
what
it,
happened? I've watched it, but I don't remember
they
now.
maneuvered up. They had one guy in front, can't remember who it was, and they were second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, all they have to do is cut him out, and they win the race. Okay. They end up screwing it up. Then the caution comes out. Then they try to get there like side by side. They didn't line up together. So I thought they're going to try to own the race or something and just block. No, that didn't even work either. They completely blew it, wrecked each other out.
Nice.
How are you going to
Typical.
be setting at Daytona second, third, fourth, and fifth, and like you just completely blow it?
and not win?
It was almost as bad as when Denny bumped the car in front of him, who then bumped Bubba Wallace, and then we found out that Bubba Wallace isn't that good at restrict plate or speedway racing because he got slammed into the wall off of a bump. There was a lot of bumping going on too. There were some scary ones. Oh, who was it? It was my man Truex. Truex. But the funny thing is, Denny is half owner in that 23 car, so he took his own damn car out. That's what a lot of the people are talking about in NASCAR. But yeah, that was a good one. It was just like owners and teams just screwing up. Like I bet you Dale Jr. when that went down for the Xfinity race was losing his mind. I was, and I'm not. I got nothing. I was in my living room going, "Are you kidding me?"
On that stage, I know NASCAR couldn't really control it, but the truck race, freaking one lap into your first official race of the season, you have to throw a caution for rain.
Yeah.
That one was brutal, but nothing was more brutal than the commercials. I know I said it
Oh.
before. I'm saying it again. The Daytona 500 was riddled with commercials. It was worse than
That was
usual.
tough,
I
dude.
haven't seen it in a while, and I thought it was just me. I was like, man, I don't remember this many commercials.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I
Well-
was even looking at that stat thing. Did you guys see what I posted? And
Yeah.
they're saying it's like similar, but man, it didn't feel similar.
No.
It felt like there was like 4 million commercials. I was like, oh, every 8 laps. I was like, holy.
So I follow my boy Kenny Wallace on social media, and he's loudmouth. He loves saying what's on his mind, and he's an old NASCAR guy if you don't know. And anyways, he was acting like he had a phone on his ear, and he's like, hey Fox, yeah, it's just all the fans. How about you block out some of these commercials, or maybe you run some commercials when we're going to the pits during a caution or something.
Yeah, call mother's window tint.
Yeah, I was like, why do we need all this? He's like, but for real, like, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. It was too many, and they were the same damn commercials. It's not like I was
They
seeing
were.
something new.
Well, and two things on the commercials. Daytona used to have their own like special commercials.
Right.
All they did was rehash the Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
And then
We've already seen
secondly,
them.
then they tried to make you feel like you were getting racing with Toyota and Wendy's onboard cameras paying for this commercial break. But you're stuck on a Toyota or the Wendy's car and can't see anything of the race going on.
Yeah, when they went to Noah, and then there was a
Yeah.
caution, and then like when a Wendy's exec called Fox was like, "Hey, we paid for 30 seconds, we got 26. We need to do that again. And then they were like, and let's go back to Noah now for the Wendy's. Like,
Wendy's game break.
And since when do they not break in on a side by side when a caution comes out?
I don't know. Dude, I'm telling you.
I did like the choose roll. I will say, if I positive note,
You like that?
I did. I thought it was cool.
I'm
Because
old.
I'm
I don't
not
like
I'm
it.
not an old school NASCAR guy, man. I can't reminisce about the times of old, but like just as a racing fan, that was cool.
I can tell you this much: Brad K looked pretty good in that 6 car. He looked pretty strong.
He did look good.
Yeah.
He
His
looked
color
good.
chrome.
I
Can't
did.
lie.
Yeah, and I didn't know TJ Majors is his sponsor, and they do
I didn't
another
know that
podcast
either.
we really
Sponsor.
like listening to.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Woo!
Yeah,
did
TJ.
not know
TJ's my
that?
boy, dude. I like TJ.
Missing
Good
out.
stuff. Good stuff.
Missing out.
But Priest, 41, races for the old Stewart. He I would know how he'd do because he's a short track guy. I mean, that's what he's come from. That's his background. But he really looked good. Got caught up in some bad stuff. My man Truex was my pick to win. He did look good for a while, and I thought it
Yeah,
was
he
coming
did.
true. I thought it was coming true, guys. I started sweating. I got like, so I was standing up in my living room.
Levi, I'm not gonna lie. I got on Vegas halfway through the race and put on a live bet Truex to win because I felt it.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't happen. That's
$25.
Daytona though.
Dang it.
Yeah, everybody got killed in that one wreck.
Yeah.
Coming
Yep.
to 2 to go or something.
All
like
that was left. All that was left was Ricky.
Can we talk about how garbage this package is too, bro? Like, I swear this draft package is like the worst it's ever been. Like, so bad. Like, nobody is like can do anything,
No.
and it's just terrible. And like, look at the Xfinity race. They literally single file trained the entire like end of the race.
Yeah, and I don't think they've
It's
got
terrible.
their hands around this car yet. I know what happens in NASCAR. Seems like NASCAR is the first. Like, I don't know if they just don't put as much money into it, but it's like when they change their cars, it takes a couple of seasons, if not 3 seasons, to get competitive. Because they said the reason with the Toyotas is they were trying to. I read some article or listened to something. They said the Toyotas they were trying to fix the cooling issue for the driver, so they're opening up more holes in
Oh, interesting.
windows and stuff, to let some breeze through, and that's why they were really bad. They've gotten better, but that's why they're just not as powerful. So it's an aero thing. And I don't know if it'll get any better on short tracks either. I was listening to Dale Jr. talk about it on his podcast. He was talking about different things at short tracks because everybody's got the same braking distance. Say you're braking 100 feet before, you only got 100 feet. And in a NASCAR, when you're coming down to a corner, you just can't make many moves there. And so they were talking about all the different things they can do to try to make it where the cars don't brake as well to try to be more competitive because
Well, I just don't understand. Like, they made the short tracks and the super speedways, which is like what they're known for,
Yeah.
the worst possible.
Yeah.
Like, they made them worse and everything else better.
I know, and
Like,
that's the
if
bad
you
thing
go,
is you can't do away with the short tracks or the restrict. Like you said, that's their two bread and butter.
well, the super speedways, the reason we have these single file trains is because literally, like, now in order to win the race or move up the line, like, if a guy pulls out and there's 10 to go, like, you shouldn't go with him. You should just ride in line with the big train and keep letting people pull out and fall back because you're gonna have a better shot to win when there's 2 to go and you pull out. Because literally nobody's gonna go with you because you can't. And like, obviously the tandem days are over. They've been over for a while, but you could at least used to be able to get like 3 or 4 cars going on the bottom and then you'd have a challenge. Now it's like you can't. Everybody's single file. Nobody's gonna hop out and help you because they know
They know they're
you're not
going to the
gonna go
back.
anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
going to
you're
the
not
back.
going anywhere. That's the problem. It's just a waste of time. Like, you looked at the lines, they fell off. Like, Cup was a bit different. I don't remember when it happened, but I thought with like 10 to go, the 2 lines kind of formed. Like, a couple guys dropped from the front, and then you saw everyone split. But Xfinity, it was just like there's guys riding around in 10th. I'm like, why are you not going? I'm like, do you want to finish 10th?
Yeah.
Like, it's 2 to go, man. It's too
Yeah,
late.
let's go.
Like, you needed to jump like 5 laps ago, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's nobody there, and nobody would go. And it was just like, what are we doing?
And you could tell when someone got spit out how like, I mean, I know that's typical all the time, but especially this year, like when Brad Keselowski got spit out of the lead, dude, he dropped from first to like 15th, like in a lap. Is
yeah.
fast, and no one let him back in. Which, I mean, I know that's racing, but it's the cars are very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They're not great.
And so it's
I can't lie.
been probably, man, 6 or 7 years since I've actually watched a Daytona, not just highlights or tune in for the end. I was so hyped. I mean, it was like Super Bowl feeling, you know?
Yeah.
I think Dave, you made that comment,
I
you know,
felt
that
it.
you're grilling,
I was
like, you know,
grilling.
got beers cracked. And it was like by the middle of it, I'm like,
What are
man,
we doing?
I gotta watch this because I gotta watch this, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to watch this. You know, like it was pulling teeth there for a while. It was just monotony, and I don't know. It just was broke up so much, and I know I'm going back to again, but the commercials broke it up so much you could never really get into it.
Yeah. That was bad.
They've got to
Yeah,
do something, and
it was
people are
bad.
talking about it so much. NASCAR's got to start listening at some point.
I'll pay. That's fine. I already pay YouTube for YouTube TV. I already pay for freaking Hulu with no commercials or
I pay for the
whatever.
F1 app. I pay for
Like,
the
yeah,
F1 app.
if NASCAR came out with a $10 $9.99 a month app, was like, hey, I would pay it.
And here's
Do
the
you
deal.
hear me,
They-
NASCAR? I
Everybody
would
would at
pay
this
it.
point.
Listen up, NASCAR. I'll pay $15 if you put all the team radios so I can
I'll
listen to
pay it.
anybody at any time.
Yeah, and it's
I won't. I'm cheap. I'll pay $12. That's it.
No, you
That's all
won't. You'll
get.
pay like
Take it or leave it.
$17.50 because you're Canadian.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I already
That's
I
why I'm trying to get it down.
I paid for F1 TV all through the off season just because like that's just I like it. I use it. I'm not going to go through the trouble of canceling it and then resubscribing. Like if you give me some package where I don't have to watch, you know, Wendy's commercials and pedigree commercials or whatever over and over again, like cool. I'll take it. I'll buy it, dude. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What I don't understand though is like not to drag this on too long because I guess we're getting long on the same topic.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is like they implemented stages and stuff for these cautions. Like, why can we not get at least like a 15-20 lap run before we're getting a freaking commercial? Like, I don't understand why it's so like literally, man. It was like you'd get 5, 6, 7, 8 laps, and there's another one. And you're like you said, it's not like it's a new one. You're getting the same recycled ones. And I mean, I'm in Canada, so the commercials are different. But I'm telling you, man, every time that commercial break came on, they played like the same 4 commercials. It was brutal.
I'll post the thing you posted, Antonio, in the show notes so people can see it. But according to this stat, 29% of green flag racing for this year's Daytona 500 was ran under commercial break. And that doesn't include the Wendy's breakaway and the all the
29%?
29% of the
Over
race.
a quarter. I'm a dumb Okie.
Yeah.
That's
We
over a
got-
quarter of the race, right?
We had 23 commercial breaks. We missed 78 laps. Of that 78 laps missed, 58 of them were under green flag.
Ridiculous. Come on.
That is ridiculous.
You've got, and NASCAR's kind of like the worst, right? We can all agree with that. With the huge names and the sponsors on the cars, we're watching a commercial the whole time we're going around the track. Like you said, who won the race? Cottonelle. We know who won the race.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
finished second? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, doo-doo wipes.
We watched Michael
It is
Waltrip
kinda bad,
eat
though.
a
You take away
Wendy's
time.
burger while
Oh,
doing
we
the pre-race.
did. We did.
Really? Oh, man,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
glad
he
I missed
had
that.
one.
This is a good burger.
You take away time from the sponsors on the car, though, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you
I
didn't
don't
have a
understand.
commercial during the Daytona 500 and you had a car in the Daytona 500, you're probably pretty pissed because, 29% of the time they didn't get to see it.
No, I'm with you.
Don't forget also every lap that has a 4 in it, you're supposed to sign up for the Bush whatever
Oh.
401k thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even count like that. I'm watching a race.
Oh,
Like-
and
Babe, does
Let's-
94 have a 4 in it?
let's just touch on the end of the race. The Green-White-Checkered, no caution.
Yes.
We're going to end under caution.
Get rid of the Green-White-Checkered. That's what I
Yeah, if you're going to do it anyways. Like, I don't know. I was kind of confused because I felt like we should have went on, but no, they had taken the
Or-
white. So
Call it something less cool than NASCAR overtime because it's like kind of not cool. Like,
yeah, no, it's not.
Here's my opinion on it. It's a 500-mile race, not a 532-mile race.
I like it.
If you're leading at 500 miles, then you've won the race. Like Dale Earnhardt, there was overtime, might not be a Daytona 500 winner back in 1999.
8.
98, but
Yeah,
yes.
98. that race ended under caution. No, like people whined about it, but then they moved on with their day because that's how it was. And then NASCAR puts in this whole overtime thing. It's got to go. These races are 500, 400 miles long. When you cross that line, if you want to put a red flag out, I'm fine with that. If you want a red flag with 4 laps to go to clean up a wreck, go ahead and do that. Let them clean up, run a pace lap, and then run 3 laps. But if they wreck again, it's done. It's over.
Or if you're going to do it where you're going to race under green to finish the race, then race under green and finish the race. Don't put a stipulation on it. Now, I mean, on the other side of that, you could be out there all night long trying to finish a race. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it's kind of like soccer, I guess, is one of them. Sorry, football is one of them. That it can end under a tie, so to speak. You get your extra time, and then once it's over, it's over. I don't know if, I don't know how NASCAR does that, but it's like you either got to stop it, like Norman said, when it's up, it's up. I just don't like the fact that you can go green, white, checker, and then you still got this year in Daytona. We had a lot of competitive cars still could race. Their cars weren't too beat up, but we ended up just being done with it because it was, I don't know. They got to do something. I did not like the way it ended.
It just didn't feel good ending normal race. Like, okay, we're coming to white flag. Like, oh, there's a caution. Was it Austin Dillon or whoever that spun? Like, and then we go to NASCAR overtime and we end under caution anyway. Like,
yeah, so you didn't go to overtime, really.
Yeah, like if we're gonna broadcast this, like, oh, we're throwing the 500 miles out the door, like because that's how they broadcasted it. They hyped it up, like, and they always do that. But like, if we're gonna end the race under caution and then go to some cool shootout thing, don't end it under caution again. Like, and I don't like the whole like when the steward pushes the button, whoever's in the lead. Like, come on, dude. I've watched enough.
It should be on the lights, man.
I've watched
I don't
enough
like that.
sports in my life to like know that nothing is unbiased, dude.
Did
like
it not always used to be on the lights? Like they try to find a camera view of when the first light blinked that a driver could have seen, and that was when it was.
That's what I thought it was too. It used to always be the lights, because then everybody knows when it ended, instead of there's this weird gray area now, and it's like,
when did he push it?
There's that time in between he pressed it and the lights coming on. There's that delay, so we don't actually know who won. Like that's so sus, man. I don't know.
And it happened.
I don't know. That's crazy.
There's 3 races that we watched. It happened in the majority of the races. We waited after the.
I think all 3 ended.
I think so. Like maybe. We need to check that.
That's a bad look for the brand. That's a bad look.
But like multiple times we were sitting there waiting. Like no, Zane Smith, they ended under red flag for rain.
Rain out.
You can't do much about that.
ARCA finished their race.
It was fun watching.
Does ARCA even do Green-White-Checkers though?
Do they even race anymore?
Yeah.
Hey, all jokes aside, that was probably the biggest ARCA pack I've seen in a long time, to be fair.
That's the last race you'll see this season.
I mean,
too.
they still sucked, but they still sucked.
That's the last one you'll watch this season, too.
I found it. I was entertained by it, but it also is quick and over.
Man, I can't lie.
What'd you say?
It's painful though, man. I can't lie. I watched it recorded and I caught up to live, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I watched it recorded. It took me about 15 minutes to watch the race.
Yeah, exactly. Like it literally, I think it took me like half an hour, and I caught up to live, and there was like 20 to go. I was like, "Are you serious?"
So technically, when Norman says he watched the ARCA race, he just put his eyes on the ARCA race. That means he watched it.
There you go.
You know what I think would be like a happy medium though. Like me personally, I agree with you guys. I think getting rid of Green-White-Checkers would just be better, because like honestly at the end of the day, it's like we're all over it. We've been here for 3.5 hours. Like we don't want to. It took another half an hour to finish the race just in overtime. But like if they really want this whole like we want to try and end under green flag movement, why not just do one attempt and that's it? Like just do one. Because like hear me out. It's like this is an F1 example, but say F1 at Monza, I think it was like last year, the year before, it ended under yellow because a safety car came out with like 4 to go.
Yep.
And it takes them a long time to clean everything up and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, how about we just extend the race and do one attempt at restarting it and see how it goes? Like, you know what I mean? And if that ends under caution, it's like, okay, well, we gave you a shot to end it under green. Like we get it, they came out late because you get those ones that end late or that end under yellow. That is just like really unfortunate circumstances. Like say a back marker goes for a spin with on lap 196. Well, now it's gonna end under yellow. So like you know what I mean? Like I get the idea. I get the idea of the green white checkered,
Be
but at the same
risky
time, I'm like,
usually.
man, 3 is ridiculous, man. 3 is brutal. Like it's so long.
Here's my thing against it. First off, and this goes to the Formula One side too. Look at how many people had to pit for fuel on the second attempt.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that too.
that sucks. NASCAR says they want to make the sport more affordable, right? What do y'all think these cars cost? $1 million a piece?
I don't know. You probably, I mean,
Look at how many extra cars got wadded up and totaled because we kept attempting to finish this race.
man, that's been Daytona though. That's the Daytona, conversation. What was it, Tony Stewart back in the day? That's like, no, we got what we wanted. We wrecked a bunch of cars.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's what they want to see. That's what we did.
And I mean, like, I get it. It's the biggest racing series popularity wise in the US still. It gets more viewership than Formula One, even though it sometimes doesn't feel like it if you're in the Formula One fan. But like I don't know. I mean, something's gotta give. I mean, right? Like
Yeah, no. And we can
something's
talk
gotta
about it
give.
for days on end. But
Yeah.
I
What
am
were the
going to
viewing numbers?
Oh, I don't they may not have been released yet. I don't have those. I am interested to find out, and if I do find them, I will post them in the show notes. But
Yeah, we'll touch on
it
that.
felt big to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're still pretty big, man. That event never is gonna fall off. I don't think they got to really screw up the sport to make that event fall off.
I mean, we can all agree though. They may be trying, but they're not getting there, right? They need to do something. Either go back to the old way and try to pick up me, like old dudes like me that are trying to, get back into it, or something for the new people. But this in between and trying to do stuff that's not working, you've got to cut it out.
As
In my
a
mind,
as an old fan, I didn't like it.
yeah, don't
Yeah.
like it.
And I'm just gonna go on a limb here. Maybe they break for commercial every 8 laps because the modern viewer really isn't here to want to watch the race. So to keep their attention, they keep cutting to commercial and coming back, cutting to commercial, coming back
Yeah.
because attention spans are so short nowadays.
Hmm.
I want to
But
watch the
I don't know.
race.
They got to do something. But
it's brutal.
I think yeah. Yeah. Man, I think that we're going to we're going to come to a crossroads where um Fox in general, okay, this is a criticism of Fox in general. The Super Bowl, I thought the pre-game Super Bowl stuff was okay this year. It was okay. And the game was great. The game was really good. I thought the Daytona 500 was the opposite. I was vibing out to the pregame stuff. Like all of their history cuts and all of the commentary and interviews, like it felt like the Super Bowl. It really did. And it hyped me up. Like you said, I was grilling and chilling by 10:30, like cracking beers, like let's do this. But I think that if they were able to do it without the so many commercials, that it might have nailed it still. But they ruined it for me. Totally. I fell asleep. My wife woke me up near like 3/4 through the race. I missed like 3 laps. But I mean, there you go. That's all I
there
need to
you
say
go.
about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should tell it all there.
Yeah.
But
Wake up, Fox. Well,
wake up, Fox.
You
That's what
know,
we could say.
as
Wake up,
far as
Fox.
like other speaking of taking, pages out of a playbook, NASCAR released their USA series. I don't know if you guys watched it. It was a attempt at Drive to Survive, and now we see like golf just released their Netflix
Oh
quote
yeah.
unquote Drive to Survive.
Yep.
It was definitely a phenomena. NASCAR released theirs. It was pretty good. Not gonna lie, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But the OG is coming down the pipeline here pretty soon. New season of Drive to Survive coming out.
Yep. F1 TV show Netflix. If y'all haven't seen it, go look. I think all the guys here watch it for sure.
It's a
I
must
don't.
watch, must hate situation.
Yeah, Norman doesn't like it. I don't. If you, it's good to get people into the racing, but the bad thing is they make things that aren't real. They make relationships and hatred and like rivalries that aren't even really there on the TV show. But they dramatize it well. They need to work on their audio because like you'll be trying
Yeah.
to listen to somebody talk, and next thing you know, you get blown out by some exhaust, but
But
or an air gun or something.
it is the chiming of the bells for the
Oh yeah,
inevitable, though.
oh
The
yeah.
Formula One season,
And we are actually one day, 5 hours and 54 minutes away from cars on track, which feels
baby.
pretty good. It
Oh,
feels
you
pretty
gave me
good to me.
goosebumps when you said that.
So, yeah, so February 23rd, which is also my wife and my oldest daughter's birthday, we'll
Shout out.
start day one. Oh, yeah, day one of testing. It's testing. We can't get too excited about it. I remember last year McLaren was like at the top of the charts, and we all know how they ended up last year. So you can grain of salt type deal, but a lot of people sandbag too during this testing session because it's the first one of the year. They'll be doing a lot of testing for aero, especially with um, new pieces, parts, wings, side pods. Ground is big. The ground effects of these cars are huge for aero stuff. You'll see a lot if you tune in. You'll see a lot of the grills that they put on the sides of the cars, front of the wings, behind, and everything, trying to get to figure out where this air's flowing. If you see some funky paint on them, it's because they put some neon paint on there, so they can actually see where that dries on the car to see where the air is pushing. It's pretty neat stuff. I get into it. I geek out on it. But a lot of changes on the cars this year, especially seeing what kind of Ferrari did with their. I don't know. Antonio can probably explain it better, but their side pods almost look like little pools of water or something. Almost, like
The
I don't.
Mercedes looks wild this year, man.
Mercedes looks a little bit different. I noticed. I was looking at a lot of changes. It seems like the cockpits have been moved around, and maybe it's just the pictures that I was seeing one on one. It looks like they might have done that. I don't know how much freedom they had in doing that, But the Mercedes was the big one last year. They had I don't call it tapered from the top of the car down. The side pods didn't protrude as much on theirs as the other cars, but I think this year they kind of did more of that.
It's
A
still
lot of
less
people,
prolific.
yeah, and a lot of people pushed off of Ferrari's deal. I noticed Haas did a little kind of their new side pods looks a lot like it. Red Bull, of course, boring, but hey, they win. You know what I mean? You can be boring when you're winning. But yeah, they'll be doing some stuff on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think tune in on Sky Sports F1 for sure. I'm pretty sure that'll be the F1 app also. At least you'll be able to see some replays out there. But yeah, like I said, it's practice. I'm just happy F1's back on track. We got something other than NASCAR going on.
Me too.
I mean, we could talk about the liveries, but there's literally almost zero to talk about. There was no big splashes on the liveries, the paint schemes.
Yeah. Alfa
Um,
Romeo looks tight.
yeah,
Ferrari looks tight. Mercedes, with the green and black, extra tight. All the others, I mean, they
uh,
all look tight, dude. They're $1 billion cars.
yeah. The Duracell is still taking the cake. The
Yeah, for
Duracell's
real.
placement on the Williams, hands down. I hope they stay with that. I hope that wasn't a joke.
Oh man.
Little touch base that we can go back to on F1 later on, but they added 1.2 million to the team's cost cap allowances,
Nice.
which it's crazy how 1.2 million isn't that much in this sport.
We
Like the
call that
money is,
catering.
oh my gosh, 1.2 million. It's like somebody needed a new filter or
Yeah.
something, and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll up it all for everybody, so you can go ahead and buy that piece of carbon fiber to put on that wing or something. The DRS zones have been changed at the first 5 F1 tracks. It's supposed to be making passing easier. It's also going to make it harder because DRS trains happen. Um, so you'll be able to pass if you're one-on-one with a guy, but if everybody's getting the DRS, then they just be going around in circles. Hopefully, it'll keep them closer together. They won't be able to break up as much. I mean, they're always trying that. That's what DRS was brought into play for, was more passing and different things like that. But
I will say, compared to NASCAR, because we were just complaining about the draftability of the cars in NASCAR this year, the next gen car.
yeah,
I would say Formula One hit the nail on the head with their draftability in this next gen car. Because last year we got some really good racing. I don't know what you guys think.
It was better. It's so frustrating because I want them to be able to pass more. I don't know how to, it's like DRS was where the passing was happening. But yes, I could admit there was a couple of times some people were taking some chances where usually a pass wouldn't have been made.
Where's the line though? Like, do you want do we want a NASCAR situation where you don't want to be in first place on the last lap on the final straight because the drafting's so good? Like, I don't know if I want
True.
that. Like I want it to come because I felt like last year, almost at every track into turn one, which is almost always with some exceptions, but is pretty much almost always followed by the start finish straight, which is long. The cars were almost always even coming into the braking zone.
There was
Like
a lot more of that. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
it felt cooler to me to watch.
Yeah. It was better in the car before. It was better in the car before. I mean, that was out of control. There was literally 2, 3 teams that were racing, and that was it. Like this year, Alonso, as much as we talked about it, I love Alonso to death. Get the hell out of a car. Like,
Right.
come on, bro. But he was making some moves last year that you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Your car ain't supposed to be doing that. Alpine was on point. And I can't wait to see him at Aston Martin because, like I said before in an earlier podcast, now this year or next year is kind of when they made the pink Mercedes at Aston Martin.
Yep.
It wasn't Aston Martin at the time, but
The
so it's
pink
kind of
Mercedes.
yeah. You need to make a green well, I guess it'd be a green Red Bull now, or so I don't know how you. But yeah, now's about the time that they really start. Stroll starts pulling out everything he can to win and
You
do
know,
better.
Stroll gets a lot of hate, but I like's a strong word, but I like Lance Stroll. I think he's got some chops and I think that he gets a lot of hate. And I guess if I was buying puts or calls on Lance, I'd buy calls on Lance. I think, and his dad owns the team, so what is he gonna do? Get fired? Like he's gonna be around for a while. He'll be team leader when Alonso retires,
I
inevitably.
don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I think his dad will finally want to win, man. Like, I'm
He might
sorry.
pull out too. You
But
never know.
Lance is a race winner.
Don't.
I mean, come on.
Don't. Let's not start this.
What do you
So
think,
is Ricky
Canada?
Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, come on. No,
Eesh.
we need a Canadian in Formula One. Am I wrong? We ditched
No.
Latifi.
No, not really.
Antonio, are you
I'm
up?
gonna be honest with you. We need some better representation. I wouldn't be sad to see him go.
Isn't there like some Canadian superstar kid coming up through the ranks? I remember hearing something about that. Well, we'll keep an eye out on that.
I don't know.
Oh, Canada. We hope you
Also,
produce
I was just
some
looking at the
drivers.
schedule. I didn't even notice Saudi Arabia's second, like round 2.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we went Bahrain and Saudi Arabia right away.
Oh, that petrochemical money. Gotta have it.
Such
In
a
Saudi
garbage
Arabia
track.
last year, there was bombs going off.
There was bombs going off
Yeah.
close to the track. There was sand. It was just dude. I'm sorry. It was. I don't know how else to put it. It's not a good
It-
track. Like
it
Antonio
was.
said, it's not a good track. It's not a good layout. It's not a good
It's
place.
terrible. I don't know what they were thinking ever. to
Oh,
begin
money,
with.
bro. Money. Saudi
No,
Arabia
I meant
wanted
like
a
when they
race.
built the track.
Yeah, well, they didn't. I don't think they cared. Honestly, it was money. You come. Well, I'm going to pay you to come here, or you're going to come here because I told you to. Because I'm on F1 pretty much. I think that's how that went.
They were like, all right. We have some land restrictions when we're building the track. You get about 200 feet in width, but we'll give you 4 miles in length. Build a track.
You have to put a bunch of bus stops in there just to
So-
slow yourself down.
So hot
Yeah.
take. Okay, because we race as one, we race for money. We know which one's more true. I mean, like you're preaching all of these human rights goals, and then you go to some of the most like just horrible human rights violating places in the
Yeah.
world.
Right?
So big, but hot take question: does the Middle East produce good racing? Are the tracks good, other than Saudi Arabia? Because I think that Bahrain's pretty good. I think Yas Marina's decent. I think
I like Bahrain. I like Azerbaijan. I like Yas Marina, Abu Dhabi. It's good, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, To be fair though, like Abu Dhabi needed a lot of work to be good. Like it was very bad when it first came in. And I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Azerbaijan for some reason. I don't know. I'd like the track, but the mile straight kind of turned some people away from it. But I don't know, man. Saudi Arabia was just like it seemed like it was for the wrong narrative that we were going there. Like Qatar, everybody's okay with too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's just the one that's really like, damn, we're really going here for the wrong
Yeah.
narrative. Like, I don't know. That one was a big turnoff for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Like Azerbaijan, I think that's one that has to stay. I love that race. Just such a unique track. Bahrain is it's good. Abu Dhabi got better last year, but it's still Abu Dhabi to me. And could care 2 cents about Saudi Arabia. I think the track is terrible. It looks like they just drew squiggly lines around Saudi Arabia and built a track with it.
Yeah.
Even just getting away from like the right stuff and being worried about that, like I think we're just going the wrong direction with money. Like, look at all the United States races. Like, you can't even afford a ticket now. It's funny, you can afford a ticket to the one that's actually a proper circuit. You try and go to Vegas or Miami, it's a joke.
Yeah.
And you look at the Vegas track map. Like, what is that?
I was getting ready to
You
say
tell
it.
me that's gonna be good?
No, that's
That
exactly what I
is
was going to say. Here
that
we
is a
are.
gimmick.
What are we doing?
We're wondering why this track in Saudi Arabia is horrible. Then you go look at the track map for Las Vegas. Why? What is it? Money, man. I'm telling you, F1 has the. As much as I say they got to get away from the money, they don't have to because that's all it's made of.
Right.
It's nothing but passing money around in hands. I love F1. I love Formula One racing. It is the pinnacle of racing. I don't care what anybody says. If you're a driver, road driver, you want to be in F1. Hands down. I don't know how you wouldn't want to be in F1. So,
I might
but
step on some toes. America needs one race. We don't need 3. Keep it at Coda. I know it's not the greatest track in the world, but
I've
get
been to
these.
Coda. I love Coda, but is Coda the answer? I think that's the problem. I think if you would have built a track that's an amazing track down there, Circuit of the Americas, what it was supposed to be, right? Undulations, turns. On paper and what we were hearing before the track was built, it sounded good. When it get done, it wasn't good. It just wasn't great. So I think if we would have had a nice track, Norman, to your point, I think we would have had one. I feel like Miami and Vegas are both things to. I mean, America's kind of blowing up in F1 right now. America's figuring out about F1, Formula One. The average person is starting to watch, Netflix, figure this out, want to be a fan. So they're trying to find these Miami and like I said, Las Vegas, Austin, Texas. One, it's not the best place for people to go to. I mean, it's not a hopping place.
It's cool. It's getting
Oh, it's
there.
cool. No, don't get me wrong. It is an awesome place for me to go, but a LA person wanting to go to a F1 race. You going to Miami? You going to Vegas? You going to Austin, Texas?
Do you think that it's more that they're throwing races in America, more races in America, just because America is so big and it's hard for someone to travel halfway across the country to one of these races?
No, I think it's just because what we were talking about. The Netflix, is America's starting to come around. There's more people at
America's a
Coda.
huge market for them too.
Dude, and then there's so many people at Coda compared, like the last 2 years compared to previous years.
But
Like I don't know the numbers, but just looking physically at the track and watching people in the seats packed
Yeah.
all the way down, sitting on the
Yeah,
grass
it's popped off.
packed. I've never seen it, and every year it's more and more.
there were more people there for qualifying this year than there were for the race when I was there 3 years ago. Yeah. So I want to make I guess something that's on my mind. Like, I'm worried that Formula One's going to overdo it, right? Because they've been popular in the U.S. before, not on this level, but they've had this opportunity when they were racing at Indianapolis and whatever, and then they did it like we should honestly do more content in an episode on it with some research, but they did a bad race in Vegas before in the parking lot of Caesars.
Yep.
And so are we going to beat this into submission? That's my fear. There's so many great racetracks in the United States. I know they're not grade 1, but like if you're going to invest all this money Formula One, Liberty Media, whoever you are, into, bringing a race to Vegas or building a track around the Hard Rock in Miami, why not why not put that money into Watkins Glen or something like that? I mean, think about the market that's around New York City and Watkins Glen and that area and Canada. And like that's a great location. It just baffles me because my progression as a race fan, I fell in love with Formula One. I'm not an old soul, but I fell in love before the Drive to Survive days, I'm proud to say, to watching Drive to Survive and thinking to myself, because everyone wants to be part of the movement, right? So when that show came out, I was like, awesome. Like, I have a head start on this. Like, cool. I know all these drivers already, but this is letting me know more. It was great. Really fueled my fire. And then I spent, you know, buckets of money on sim racing um, because I wanted to find out more about the tracks. Point is like, I'm not the only one that went down this progression cycle. Whether you started before Drive to Survive or after Drive to Survive, I think the progression into being a race fan is the same. You don't just fall in love with the Hollywood aspect of it. You want to know more. You want to see better racing. You want to understand the politics. You want to understand how the money moves and why the teams do what they do. And as a 6-year-old race fan, truly, I'm to the point now where I'm like you guys. I don't really like Drive to Survive. It's kind of disenchanting. I don't I see problems with these tracks that we're trying to build, and I want us to go to these better tracks because I wanna be nostalgic about something that I've never experienced before because I feel like I missed out on that age of Watkins Glen and Indianapolis, and like I feel like I missed that, right? I feel like I deserve in my fandom to experience that again. And so if we could go there again, I feel like everyone's progression is the same. All these fans that I meet, whether it was at Coda or at the Rolex or at Texas Motor Speedway or whatever, they're on this same path if they're new. They're eventually going to become diehard, opinionated, kind of hard to get along with racing fans. And I think that Drive to Survive, Formula One, NASCAR, everyone needs to understand that like we're all going to get to this level, right? And you can't play the gimmick card so much. You can't just go to Miami and Vegas and like, what are we gonna race it downtown New York? Like that was talk. Like it's like the Chicago race for NASCAR. Like no one in Chicago cares about NASCAR. Like what are we doing? And so like, are we beating it into submission? Sorry, it was a bit of a rant, but it's my fear because I want friends that like Formula One, right? Like I want to walk into the gas station and be like, "Hey, do you see the race this weekend? Pretty cool, right?" But I don't want it to be this flash in the pan fad where it's just being a Formula One fan is going to the race, taking a bunch of selfies next to cars, posting it on Instagram, and then falling out of love with it 2 years later. I want it to be something big. And I feel like if you want to do that, you need to give us race fans something that we love, and that's good racing, right? Ranting.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I get that, but I guess with the whole problem with it is I think the reason we're going to Vegas and we're going to Miami is because, and unfortunately, it's what you said. It's because the people that want to take selfies next to the car because they saw them on Netflix. They like the clothes that Lewis Hamilton was wearing when he showed up to the track. Um, they like that he pushed the envelope of the fashion, industry. I'm afraid that's what we're into. And all I use it is I'm trying to use it as fuel to fuel the thing that I have a passion for and hopefully grab a few more people on the way. But yes, I'm afraid that they are going to probably saturate it out. But that's the reason that we don't work on Watkins Glen. You touched on New York. It's New York, but it's not New York. I mean, you're not downtown New York, so someone can say I went to Vegas on the Strip and watched that F1 race. I was down on Miami Beach watching that F1 race. I think it's more of a status thing with the Netflix. Unfortunately, I think that's where they've went with it. But I I like it that just bringing fans in, because then it brings money, then it brings new opportunities for the sport.
So back to Antonio's point, do you fix it by reducing the ticket price?
I think you can't have your cake and eat it too.
I don't think you can because then you lose the status. Then people like
Yeah.
me can get in. I'm not going to post on Instagram. I don't give a damn what Lewis Hamilton was wearing when he walked in.
That's interesting because NASCAR's cheap and not very many people go unless it's the Daytona 500 or the whatever, you
But
know?
they just got their show. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. True.
I think the problem is society's changed so much now that like it is like Levi said, it's a status thing. Like people nowadays, you buy a Ferrari for your status. You don't buy a Ferrari because it's some handcrafted, beautiful machinery that you want to enjoy. Like you just want to post with it and be like, "Yeah, I got a Ferrari, man. I'm cool." It's kind of like the same thing when people go to a race. Like it's just like the F1 races. It's such a overwhelming experience that everybody needs to be posting, and it's like so high status that all these celebrities show up and they're letting them on the grid walk and they're ignoring Will Buxton and all this stuff. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like it's a different type of vibe. I don't think to touch on NASCAR too. I don't think NASCAR's looking for that. I mean, like they want to be bigger, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't you can only driving around in circles can only appeal to someone so much. That's the problem for like an average person. Like if you really don't understand all the concepts, you're not gonna understand it. Whereas F1, you don't really gotta understand it. You just gotta be there. And that's what they're pushing, it seems like. So I really don't think dropping ticket prices is gonna make a difference. It's just gonna, if anything, it's just gonna make it more packed and lose that legendary status, I guess, that it has right now, which is I think why they're pushing the market into the United States because that's where all these people with these celebrity and high statuses are. They're in America. This is where they are. Like this is social. Like the media is revolves around the United
Yep.
States. Like let's be honest here. So
And then we get to
I
watch
don't know.
Megan the
That's my hot take.
Stallion, like, blow off Martin Brundle in Austin for my.
Oh, was it Martin Brundle? Or was it Will?
It-
I don't even remember who the hell it was.
So, and it goes back to I think episode 1. Dave said that NASCAR is not going to fail because it's businessmen, and the businessmen in NASCAR and in Formula One, they're there to make money. I'm not here to watch the race so they can make money. I'm here to watch the race because I have a passion for racing, and I think Dave, that's where you're starting to figure out that it's the time we live in now that it's all about money and how can I get more money in my pocket. The guys that run these series don't care 2 cents about racing.
Right.
They aren't race car drivers themselves. They've never been race car drivers. They've been businessmen and they worked their way up the group and got elected to be CEOs. I think that's where we've got to just accept that we can't have our cake and eat it too. Both series are going this way, and it's just what we have to live with now. And if we like racing, we're going to watch it anyway.
I think it helps too that F1's got a status member, and I keep going back to Lewis Hamilton, but he's the only one I know. Lewis Hamilton's the only one in F1 that I know that reaches outside of F1 fans. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that know Lewis Hamilton that don't know much about F1. I can't say the same thing about Max Verstappen or K Mag or any of the other drivers really on the schedule right now that are in the driver lineup. So what I'm trying to say is, I guess when you've got someone like Lewis Hamilton, you're probably going to blow up bigger. NASCAR doesn't really have a Lewis Hamilton right now, in my mind.
I think that so that's where, and you may not like this, Levi, but that's where your boy Danny Rick comes to mind, right? Like, there might, an IndyCar has been, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but all of my favorite Formula 2 drivers are now IndyCar drivers, like Christian Lundgaard and like, I mean, the list goes on and on. And some of my Formula 1 drivers like Roman Grosjean, Callum Ilott. There's a lot of names. And so I guess some people look at that as like they're running away from their opportunity or whatever, but maybe they see the writing on the wall that like does the progression of race fan go from not very knowledgeable to super passionate and then you stay there, or does it really go where I think some of these people that aren't race fans, they're businessmen, are thinking. Does it go from racing what's around me, like maybe you fall in love with Formula 1 and then you go to races locally that are cheaper, like IMSA and IndyCar and NASCAR. And so like maybe they're banking on that? Or are these drivers just real like are they really I can't believe that they're getting paid better money to run 13th in the US at Road America than they were to run 5th or 4th in Formula 2.
They just want to race competitively.
Well, and that's the deal. It's such a cutthroat deal in F1. You're either in, you're in. If you're not in, you're probably not going to get in. And once you're out, you're out.
Yeah. Maybe that's
Um,
like, yeah, I just don't
it's so
understand the desperation of needing a seat, I guess, because I'm not
and
a race car driver.
right now, I mean, me and you've talked about it. We've all talked about it. Some of these old guys need to leave. Well, really, I mean, Alonso is about the only one left after Vettel, and there's a bunch of young guys. I mean, Max got how many more years you think as a group? How many think you got? Max has
Oh
in an
gosh.
F1 seat if he wants it.
If he wants it, see, that's the key.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, where is there an open seat you know is going to be there in the next 5 years? Do you
I think
set an
Checo's on
F2?
his way out. I think Checo's been around longer than people realize. I
The
think
see Red Bull though, and well, Red Bull's a little different because of Ricardo, but usually they've got a number 3 driver that's young, who could he's kind of like the next guy in, right? Supposedly that's the way it's supposed to work. Your reserve driver is the next guy in. So if you're an F2 still, and even if you're competitive, it's kind of frustrating to look at that lineup and see that every reserve driver's filled, every regular seat's filled except for 1 or 2. I've got a chance to go make a career somewhere. I might want to go take that.
Alonso, not including Alonso, Hamilton's your next guy. And I guess after Hamilton, Bottas?
K-Mag,
I was gonna say
maybe.
you got K Mag, you've got um
K-Mag's a GT driver, man. He should just go with his dad. He's got so many connections. He should just go drive for Corvette and
And
WEC. And
you got Hulkenberg coming back. I think they're just trying to get the most they can out of that car with some older drivers right now. But
yeah,
if those two guys could get some younger I mean, there's some drives there. But do you really want to be an F2 guy who's in the top 3 in F2 and then go to Haas right now?
mm, I
No, I
mean,
don't.
there's so many things. You can have the most money and the most talent, and like all the stars still have to align for you to get an F1 seat, and like even to
Exactly.
get one that actually is relevant
Or if you
too.
got a 3 or 4 year
There's so
contract in
much.
Indy and you can be in a competitive team,
Oh, your
you
dad
know?
just has to own a team.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah. I know I think F1's one of their biggest things is like there's such a difference between like there is a distinguished difference between front of the pack, middle of the pack, and the back. Like you can say the same about NASCAR. Don't get me wrong. You got like, Hendrick up front and you got at the back you could have like Rick Ware Racing, but like at the same time, you still got like 5 or 6 teams in contention to win. F1, it's like I mean, even if you go look back in the years, man, it's always been 1 or 2
Oh yeah.
teams.
Oh yeah.
It's been teammates or it's been another team, and there's never 3 teams in it. I mean, like, yeah, there's probably been some. Don't get me wrong, someone's gonna call me out on that, but I'm just being like, for the most part, like, it's not much, man. Like, look at 2016, it was late teammates battling the whole year. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's hard to say. Like,
what's your take on this year? I think I asked that because I think this year has potential to be closer than the last 5 or 6.
Dude, last year would have been closer. Ferrari wouldn't have shot themselves in the foot for the first 5 or 6 races.
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
6, man, the whole season, man. Tell me
I'm
what.
just saying they were out of it by then, though.
No,
But
man, I'll be honest with you. I think it's just going to be like every other year. I think someone's going to just eventually figure it out and walk away with it. Like, it's always going to be close first few races because there's so many things. Like, everybody's getting back on their feet. It's the first race of the season. Everybody's made some changes. And then, boom, like 4 races in, someone figures it out and walks away with it. You know what I mean?
I think as far as teams go, I think, well, not really teams, but drivers. I think Leclerc is going to have a standout year this year. I think hopefully Ferrari's made some changes where they just won't like kill him and let him do his thing. I'm not a big fan of his per se. I don't hate the guy, but I'm just not a big fan. But he can drive, and I hope he gets to show it.
all right, let me throw a curveball at you guys. What makes the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, the MLB, all of these United States, what keeps the balance between these teams? Even though the Golden State Warriors have millions and millions and millions of more dollars than, say, your, you know, Orlando Magic or whatever team, right? What still keeps the balance and the scales even? A draft. A draft. And if you are the worst team, you get the most or the highest draft pick. You can trade that pick. It's not that simple. You can trade it for money. You can trade it for future draft picks. You can trade it for people,
Man, I was gonna say $15 nachos.
right?
It's true. It's true. But you could also flip that and say that like no other sport has this big of a difference in cars, though, right? Like realistically, if you're going by like picks, you're still always gonna have like let's be honest, every F1 driver like belongs there. Like you give any of those guys a car for the most part, and I promise you they will win you the championship.
I
Like you know
guess
what I
yeah,
mean? So
I
it's
guess you're
hard to
right.
it's
I
hard to
guess you're
say.
right. Like I guess and I've said that before that the assumption in Formula 1 is perfection, right? That all the drivers should perform perfectly every lap. And it's comes down to engineering. So I guess you're right, but it just baffles me how much more money the top teams have, and what that perpetuates to is more money to hire better people. And so
You want my
the cycle never ends. And yes, I do.
you want my honest opinion? Standardize more parts, and then you will bring the field closer together.
But then we're getting
They
into
have it too.
spec
It's too
racing.
open.
Yeah, then we're
I
now
Yeah,
don't
we're
want
but yeah,
I
but
don't want a
it's
spec
too.
race
But why?
because I like the innovation. That's what-
Yeah, but there's too much innovation right now. That's what gives us these big gaps.
Ooh.
It's a trade-off. You can either have it be solely innovation and do whatever you want, or you have it standardized. Like I'm not saying standardize the entire car, but
Right.
like open up less. Like you can look at the old generation cars. You could have probably standardized that entire car except the front wing, and Mercedes would have clapped everyone's cheeks because they figured out the front wing.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, that's a bit drastic, but like you get what I'm saying. Like I feel like you have to somewhat standardize it to bring some sort of balance. Like right now, it's just so innovative based that it's like if you don't know how to innovate, which is pretty much 7 of 10 teams right now, you're doing nothing.
So they have, restrictions. Of course, we all know, the wing can only be so big, it has to be so high, this and that. Your barge boards down the side of the car has to be extend out this far, can't go this far. You know what I mean? All that stuff. Maybe if you made that even smaller, where they can only move within a smaller box, so to speak. Well, yeah, I mean, would that do something where, like Norman, you could still have your innovation. People are still going to have to find ways to make that work, but make it even smaller of a box. Maybe the certain part of the wing you can change, but the back part of the wing has to stay the same or something. So all you can do is mess with the nose. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw stuff out there,
I'm
brainstorming.
just saying NASCAR is pretty standardized, but you still have innovation that makes you succeed.
Hmm.
I think you're seeing Formula One try to get their hands on it and not go that route by doing testing limitations, wind tunnel testing limitations. If you win the championship, you don't, are they're trying to limit how much you can pay your engineers. They're kind of salary capping your engineers' cost. And I think it's going to be a few years till you start seeing, till we can see if these changes are going to work or not.
I mean, I guess you could look at IndyCar for an example. I mean, the racing in IndyCar is, I mean, it doesn't get a lot of love, but the racing is good. It's fun to watch.
That's
And
a
the
spec series right there, too.
and the championship came
Exactly.
down to the bitter end, as it should, as in a spec series. But you still have your superstars that succeed and your teams that stand out and your guys like Elio that win 4 or 3 times in a row, Indy 500 champion. Like, I think that's where, and I think that's where spec racing shines, right? Is because we assume perfection in these drivers, but what if we didn't? What if we assumed equality in the car and
Ah,
let magic happen? I
I
mean,
think
but
I think that's why F1's the best, right? You got everything open pretty much.
yeah,
The
well, I
drivers
love
are
that.
the best of the best. The cars are the best of the best per whatever that team thinks is the best. You
I
know?
And
look at, I watch an IndyCar race because I'm looking for. I know it's a spec series. I can get behind it, right? I know I'm going to get a great race. I watch Formula One because it's not a spec race. I'm watching guys take cars that shouldn't be doing. My best example is last year Haas. Look at Mick Schumacher and look at um, K Mag. How much better did K Mag perform in that car? I think K Mag overperformed that car last year.
Yeah, he
I
did.
think Mick was performing what that car should perform.
Yep.
I think that shows you that K Mag is a really good driver.
I think that this is conspiracy theory on that whole point right there, but I think that they knew they needed Schumacher out. You can't kick a Schumacher, in quotes, the name out. They weren't making changes to this car. That was documented. They were making changes to K-Mag's car. So they tanked Schumacher to get him cut loose so they could find
Yeah,
somebody else. They didn't want him.
but K Mag before the season even started, or when the season just started, was outperforming him.
Yeah, but if you don't give me the same parts, man, I can't keep up.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
that's just what that is.
maybe it's not as big as it was at the end of the season. But K Mag still was.
He did good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking
He
anything
still
away
was
from what he did.
way ahead of Schumacher in the first 5 races of the season.
But Schumacher did some really good racing against a couple of guys during the season. I think he put up a pretty good show for the car that he had.
Hey, well, Mercedes was impressed. They hired him.
Yeah, no joke, right? That's kind of bad when you go from Haas and at least their reserve driver. Oh, and speaking of reserve drivers, Stroll's still out with the accident that he had. I think it was a biking accident. Was it correct? I don't know about that one, but
I heard about that today. Okay, do
yeah,
you
he
know
had a
more?
biking accident in the off season, and he's still getting some stuff worked out. So Drugovich, which I think is their reserve driver, will be the one. He'll actually be testing for Aston Martin this week instead
Yes.
of Stroll.
That's
So
huge, man.
I think it is. If he can come out and really punch him in the face, and put some numbers up, maybe we can get something done there.
I believe, dude.
Yeah,
I
people that
believe.
don't know, Lawrence Stroll bought Aston Martin so that he could sponsor his team by Aston Martin. I mean, that's the kind of money this guy's playing with. I don't know if y'all knew that he's the main owner of Aston Martin now. And that's why
He's
it became a
very
sponsor
rich.
of his own team. Very rich, and his son is one of the drivers. So if anybody out there listening doesn't know what that is and why we keep saying things, Lance Stroll's an all right guy. He's a Canadian. He's a good dude, but you're in daddy's car, bro.
He's daddy's
Get
car.
out. You're in daddy's car.
Dude, I got high hopes for Drago. I can't wait to see what he can do. I feel like he might be honestly next in line at Aston Martin for real.
And we're gonna have more on an F1 kind of preview type deal for the first of the season. But
Yeah.
about the only other thing I've got is they're easing some of the radio restrictions and stuff. So and they got some kind of new rain tire, but we'll have more on that later. I wanna make sure I got all the stuff in line. But yeah, F1 app, dude, I'm telling you, it's where it's at. If NASCAR could do something like the F1 app, I'd probably pay money for it because it's pretty handy. You can listen to any team radio, watch any on-car cam you want, plus you can see the broadcast. So
And
Uncensored.
also, we're in the works of having another preview for F1 coming up, and you'll get all our picks for constructor champions, driver champions, and all that good stuff.
and for the
Coming
first
in.
race, we will always be doing the Bennett in it or win it from now on.
Heck yeah.
So we'll be doing that. But yeah, good things. F1's fired back up. NASCAR got rolling. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
12 hours of Sebring's around the corner.
Yeah.
It is. It
Excited for
is.
that. It's gonna be
I
cool.
love it.
St. Pete's right around the corner too.
I'm telling you, it's race season. It's race
and,
season, baby.
and to you
it's
IndyCar
on. It's on.
and to you IndyCar fans out there, I'm hyped for IndyCar this year, and so I'm looking forward to covering.
I'm
plenty of-
gonna start watching a little more than I usually watch. I usually tune in very little, so we're gonna see what we can do with
Man,
Indy
it's
here.
been good. It's been good, and
So I've heard.
I love me some Lee Diffie. He's my favorite. I'm Lee Diffie, dude. He always gets me in such a good mood. I'm like, man, Lee, you're my man.
They just had a pre-race show like the Daytona 500 had. Then I think every day would be a Super Bowl day for an IndyCar race for me.
Man, I'm looking forward to May. I know that. I mean, we have some. Let's not forget, we we're still trying to find out who's in the Indy 500, but we already know like Kyle Larson's running it, and like
I know.
there's some
As
crazy days on the list.
far as iRacing goes, I've always wanted to do an Indy, so I may have to try
Let's do
on
one.
iRacing.
Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, we can.
They'll
We
have
can,
one. They'll
we can
have
do-
one. Though.
we
Come
can
on
do
now. It's
it
like
a
Lamar.
Delara, whatever they are called.
It's the
The iRacing Formula C. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
whatever they call it. But
What do they call it? No, it's some. No, Formula is the Delara. What
Isn't
is
it like the American Formula cars?
Oh no, it's Open Wheel C. Open Wheel C.
Nice.
Or
But
B
yes,
or something.
I've
I
actually
can't
thought
remember.
about doing one. I think this year may be the year.
Let's sponsor one. Let's do one. Let's host one. Whatever you want to name it.
Man, I should have done the 500 though.
Dude, we could host one. That would be sweet, right?
The Lap Zero
Lap Zero
podcast.
Podcast, Indy 500.
Indy 500.
Or Indy 500 sponsored by Lap Zero Podcast.
Can't
Lap.
call it the Indy 500.
the 500-mile race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
We can call it the Indy 499 plus one.
The Lap Zero 500.
There you go. I'm in. Let's do it.
I'll race
Well,
it.
The Indy Zero.
Hey, speaking of iRacing, where are we racing this week?
we're in Silverstone. For the single race,
this is the
32
big
lapper.
one. Oh, dude, no sweat. I love me some Silverstone.
YouTube, Team Goon Squad. Team Goon Squad YouTube channel. Check it out.